This conference will now be recorded.
Hello and welcome to PRECEDELink Training. My name is Melissa Sexton and I am part of the PRECEDE Consortium. Once you get your super user ID for your site or just your username, depending on what role you'll be playing, you will be able to log into the PRECEDE Secure Link. You'll use your username and the temporary password. When you sign in, it will ask you to change your password. Also, if you forget your password or username at any point, you can click this link. And it'll take you here where you can either enter your username to get your password reset or to retrieve your username if you use your email address. You can go back to the login page. So we'll put in my username, my specific password, and hit continue. The first time you sign in, you won't get a list of all the sites. You will just get your facility. You'll hit enter, and then it'll ask you to create a census password. Now, what the census password does is it unencrypts all PHI data. If you do not use the census password, you won't see any of the PHI except for date of birth and sex. So in order to enter anyone into the system and see any of the PHI, you need to have the census password entered. So this is site specific. You create it and everyone at the site uses the same census password. Again, everyone will have their own username and password, but the census password is shared. So I am going to go ahead and create one. Tell me if I'm wrong. There we go. Okay, now hit save. And that'll bring us directly to the login screen, or I'm sorry, the home page. So you'll see your facility site number. It'll give you an option for protocols. At this time, PRECEDE's the only protocol that's in the system. They'll give you the home page, the task page, material management, census. Okay. Before we start going through each of these pages, we want to go over here to the little cogs button. This is where you're going to find either manage my account, and that's for everyone will have this. If you're a super user, you'll also have manage all accounts, and this is where you'll be adding other users, as well as if you need to inactivate anybody. To do this, you would just click manage all accounts, and you'll see we already have some users in here. To add a new user, click the button. You want to put in their surname, their given name. If you want to put their middle name, their prefix or suffix, and then you need to give them an email address. And I'm just going to go ahead and put mine in there. Okay. And then you need to create a username for them. We do suggest using their first initial and then their last name. And we want to make sure that we enable them so they're able to access the system. And if it's for the facility coordinator, you just want to click that role. The facility administrator, that is the super user. That's the person that can add and remove people from the users. So you want to make sure you mark them as facility study coordinator and click save user. It's going to confirm that you want to set this person up, that this is their email address and their username. Okay. And then you'll see you have the person right here that we just did. And they're showing that they are active, what their role is, as well as what their username is. And you can, if they need you to reset their password, they're not able to for some reason, you can just click reset password. And you can also edit the user by going in here. So say, oh, this person's no longer with the site. We want to take them away and enable them. So you would just click the enable check mark so it disappears and then save them again. And now you'll see that they're no longer active. So back to the COG here. So those are the manage my account or manage all accounts. The announcements page, if we have any announcements for the sites, they'll be posted here, such as if there's updates that have been done to the system or any changes that you need to be made aware of. And then we have the online help. This is where you have the quick start manual for Link, the release notes, the manual of procedures will be put in here as well once it's been updated. And then you can also email us directly here at the DCC by just putting in your email address, the subject, and then the question or comment that you have, and hitting send. And this is the key to all the icons that you'll find within Link. And all you need to do, like if you see one and you're not quite sure what it means, you can come to this page and look it up. Like an orange check mark means that the value is outside the expected range, but it's been confirmed as correct. Okay. So this is the online help and the various tasks here under the cog. So we can go back now and we'll go to the home page. This is the page that will show if you have any overdue tasks. It'll also show you your announcements. If you have any incomplete consent, so if you've consented somebody and you've entered the information into the form, but you haven't finished the form, it'll show up here until you've completed it. Overdue study tasks, that's any tasks such as like a CRF isn't completed, a visit isn't completed, will all show up on this page. And then we have the incomplete study end, and that again is very similar to the incomplete consent, where you've started the form but you just haven't completed it, and it'll show up on here until it's taken care of. And then if you go to the task page, right now we're not going to see anything because we haven't put anybody in, but this will show every task that needs to be done in the next 30 to 90 days and anything that's past due. And I'll show you how to enter a person, and then we can come back here and I can show you how to do some search and filtering. The material management page, this is where all of your biosamples that you've collected will show. So you have one list of all the samples that have been collected. And you can also do searches on here as well. So let's go to the census page. This is probably the page that you're going to be at the most. And this is where you will add a new subject, and then where you'll have a list of all your subjects. So let's go ahead and add someone. First name. Okay. Now, as you'll see, when I first get into a question, into the answer portion, it has a gray pencil. So that means that the answer needs to be entered. And then once I enter the information, it turns to gray. And if I get out of that question, it turns to green. Okay. Just a couple of things here. So the first name, last name, and local study ID. These are PHI that's encrypted unless you use the patient name key. And these are strictly for the site's reference. So if you have a local study ID that you want to use, you're more than welcome to. I know some sites will use like the medical record number. Even for the names, if you don't want to put the names in, if you have some kind of identifier so you know which participant is which. Again, these three are just applicable to you guys at the site. The DCC does not see this information. The date of birth, again, we do see that. So let's go ahead and have the little asterisk here. That means it must be answered. So we can click the calendar. I'll give you today's date, and you can change it. I'm just going to go ahead and close that out, and then I'm going to change the year to 2000. Now, instead of getting out of the question to save it, you can actually click on the gray check mark, and that will save it. Okay. And then their email address and primary phone, these are both optional. And again, these two would become encrypted to us. So if you want to have this information, so you can reach out to the participant if needed. And then at the end of each questionnaire, usually on a separate page, but this one is on the same page, it's going to ask you if it's completed. And we'll click yes and hit save. And that gives you the person to the census page. So we have on here now, if we wanted to go back in and edit the form that we just completed, we could click the green edit button, and there it is. They're automatically assigned a PRECEDE ID, and then you'll see their study name, local study ID. And again, because the census password is, then that's why we're able to see that. The ITATs, you don't have anything in here yet because we haven't consented them or screened them. So the next column is the screening form. So we want to hit add. Okay, so we're screening them today. We're not going to put them in cohort 5. Okay, let's say yes. Say no. Yep. Marking all of these answers. And as you'll notice, we do have skip logic in here. So for this question here, do they have any other relatives? Since I said no, all of the questions that would pertain to relatives is now grayed out, and you have the green negative sign. That means that these questions are not to be answered. And yes, I'll just pick a few. So if it has a radio button, you're only able to answer one question or choose one answer. If it has a square, it's multiple choice, and so you can mark as many as you need to. And hit continue. And we'll hit continue. And again, the last question on the page is the questionnaire completed? So hit continue. And now we have that they're eligible, and now we just need to consent them. So today they were approached for consent. Yes, they consented. Yes, they consented to everything. Continue. Again, you're going to want to hit save. And now it tells us they're in cohort 3. So this will automatically sort for you. You don't have to worry about making sure that you have every single inclusion-exclusion criteria correct. This will tell you if it is, and tell you exactly which cohort they belong in. The study end form is for if they choose to lose the study early, before their 10 years. It can also be because they were diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, deceased, their choice, investigator discretion, non-compliant, or if you enter someone by mistake, you can use that as well. So you'll also notice on the census, they have a delete button. And so that's if you enter the person by mistake and you're like, oh, I need to get rid of this, take this person off. You can just use the X. It'll say, are you sure you want to remove them? So I'm going to say no. And if you go into their iTask, so this is their individual task page, and you'll see you have their study ID, their name, which cohort they're in, their local study ID, their date of birth, and study consent date. If they were to leave the study, you would have the study end date as well. And here, because they're in cohort 3, they only have the initial visit. Okay, so that's listed here. So what I want to do is I'm going to actually go through and we're going to add one more person. Okay. So we're going to make this person so we can make them a little bit older. And one thing I did not do, which you always want to make sure that you do, is you mark the questionnaire as completed. Okay, we'll go back and do that again. Okay. And we're going to do the screening form again. You want to make sure that you do answer this if they're in cohort 5 correctly, because it can affect how they get sorted into a cohort later on. Just answering the questions to get them. Make sure we get everybody into the right cohort. And you do need to answer all the questions, and you don't want to answer some, get out, do something else, and then come back and answer them, because it can affect the way they get sorted. So we want you to complete it as you go through it. Now, this question here about the participant have any other studies or clinical trials. If you hit yes, you're going to want to fill out this form or the can grow table here. You would just click add new entry and then select, are they in one of these studies or is it a different study? We're just going to say yes, they're in this one. And that's all you have to do, and hit continue. And you're done. You'll also know we have this current page progress. This tells you how much of the page has been completed. It does take into account skip logic. So if it tells you it's only like 80% done, you know that you're missing something. And you can just go scroll back through, and it's easy to just look at the different symbols on the side here to see what's empty. And continue, yes, and continue. Okay. So are we going to consent this person? We want to say yes, we're consenting them, and they consented to the study, and they consented to everything else. New and save. Okay. Okay. So now we have an ITASK for them, and it does show that they're in cohort 1. So now we're going to go and explore the ITASK a little bit more. For the most part, we're going to be going through the functionality of how this works. For more specifics on when to add the different ad hoc forms or when things need to be completed, you'll want to reference the MOO, the Manual of Operations for that, or you can contact the SDCC, or the DCC. Okay. So for this person, because they are in cohort 1, they do have an annual visit every year, and they're all listed here. If you expand them by checking the X or the plus, you're going to see the visit information of the forms. Okay. Now, when you get into the ITASK, the current visit and any past due visits will always be expanded. Okay, so you know exactly where you need to go. You can, though, collapse them all, so you don't see any of them open, or you can expand them, then you have them all open. So we're going to collapse all and just open up the one you want to use. Now, with all the tables in Link, you have the option to sort and filter. So here we can sort by proceed, but it's going to be the same regardless. The event you can sort by, so if we want to see them in order. And if you ever hit that by mistake and you're like, wait, where'd my enrollment visit go? The enrollment visit always goes to the end because it is alphabetical. The task, status, due date, overview, and then if you wanted to go, you could filter it. You can go say, okay, I just want to see the visit for the annual 4, and that's what you have. You can just click the X to get out of that. Okay. So let's go into the enrollment visit. So when you have a new visit, sorry, I had to undo my sorting that I had so they got all show together. So when you hit the proceed enrollment, you're going to have the first one is going to be the visit schedule. It says enrollment visit or whichever visit number it is. So like for annual 1, it'll say follow-up visit. Okay. So if you click on this link, you'll see that they give you a date range for when this visit needs to be completed. And while it does give you a month, because you have up to 4 weeks to complete the visit once they've been consented. Okay. So the date of the visit today is the 12th, so we're going to keep it as today. They're in person, and then a waiting schedule is what it automatically pre-populates to. If you want to fill this out early and get things going, you can do scheduled, or you can just do visit occurred once it's been completed. So we're going to go ahead and do visit occurred and save it. Then we have our enrollment CRS. And you just want to go ahead and fill this all out. And again, like I said, if you have an aerial button, you can only use one, choose one answer. If you have the squares and the check mark boxes, you can choose as many as you want. And then you decide. So another type of answer is where you would actually put in numerals. Let's try. That's only going to give me inches. So I put in it by feet, and we only have a choice of inches or centimeters. So I chose inches, and then it's telling me, wait, the expected range should be this. So now, a couple of things we could do. We could mark it as not done over here on the side. So we don't want to do that. We can confirm that this is correct. So what we want to do is then make this 67 inches. Okay. And then we can confirm that it's correct. And it'll take that all away. Again, yeah, you want to look to see like what the units of measure are. And select one which. And you can, to go to page, you can either hit the continue button here, which will take you over. I'm just going to see if there's any of these. So we have some more can grow tables. Again, easy to do it the same as you did on the other form, where you just add new entry. These do have a few more questions on it. So we'll just take this and the date and continue. Tells me it's 100% for that form or for that drop down. And there we have it right here. And say, oh, no, that's not right. You can either go in and edit it, or you could delete it altogether. And then we also have the first degree family cancer history and the second degree. So again, these you just click it on the add new entry and then complete the form. Continue. And if you do that, it will show you, so it's a blank. It's like, oh wait, I really didn't want that there. That's why I didn't complete it. So I'll just hit the X and yes, I want to take it off of there for you. Okay. So the other way that you can get to the pages is if you want to use the links over here on the right-hand side of the screen. Okay. Now, the answers save automatically as you answer them. So that's why you don't have to worry about going through this continue to save. They're already saved. And so you can just click those links on the side here. One other thing you can do here is if you wanted to print, you can print all the pages to the CRF. So if you wanted to print it out before your visit, so you had the papers there so you knew what you needed to find, what answers you needed, or you can just print each page separately if you wanted to do that. Okay. So let's go back. If we go, when you finish the questionnaire and hit continue, it will take you back to that iTask page. So now what you'll notice is that the enrollment visit is collapsed. And if you look over here, it says event complete. That's why. So once you've completed everything, so the enrollment visit or the visit status has to be visit occurred, and then any CRFs need to be completed. So if that's everything for that visit occurred and completed, the system will automatically collapse it and tell you that the event is completed. Okay. So the next thing we're going to talk about is adding the new ad hocs. So over here on the right-hand side, you click here. It's going to tell you to please enter your protocol, which is proceed. And then we want to know what ad hoc event we need to add. Is it labs, blood samples, EUS, MRI, cohort reevaluation, SAE, other studies ad hoc, or saliva biosamples? So I'm going to touch base here on the biosamples, both of those, as well as the cohort reevaluation. So we're going to go ahead and start with the biosamples. And today's date, because we're going to draw samples today. And now you see that it's added. It's added in chronological order. And if there's more than one event added, it's going to do it by the time. Okay. So let's go through and say, okay, we've gathered our biosamples. So yes, they were secured. And then here, trial date is today. Patient fasting. And then you're going to go ahead and fill out the different pages. This one has the information about the red top, as far as like what time they were drawn, the centrifuge time, how long they sat outside before processing, and then the location of them. And then the next page is about the lavender top. Same questions you'll answer about the processing. And also here about the cfDNA is done, and the fiscal. And then this page, so you'll complete all those other pages. This last full page to complete is the enter samples. So this is where we're going to enter the barcode. Okay. So this here describes to you what the barcode is, what each of the numbers represent. So we're going to go ahead and put a barcode in. So the first three are the site number. So I'm using site number 900. And the sample type, which will be for BL, that stands for blood. Okay. The fourth digit sequence set is the kit number. So these kits, these labels are sent to you in kits. So there's sets of each of the labels. So you want to do what the label set is. And then one of the actual label numbers, which we're going to use 01. You can hit the check mark here to make sure that it's a good number, and then press populate. Now I type the numbers in. You can scan them in, and that's a good way to make sure that they're accurate. So we populated the material grid, and so now what you'll see is we have all of the labels listed here. So there's 17 labels in each kit. The last 5 are extra, okay? So we are going to go ahead in here, and now we're going to mark if we didn't collect that one, if we collected it, or if it had to be discarded. So say there was a crack in a tube you realized after you processed them, then you want to discard the one that has the crack in it. So you come in here and hit discarded. Now at this point too, you could also come up here and just print this page out and put it with your biosample kit. And then that way whoever processes them can mark which ones were used, which ones weren't used, or if they were discarded. So then what you're going to want to do is come into each one of these and mark if you collected it or not. So we'll go ahead and do that now. You've got the serum, the plasma, and you want to make sure the plasma, if it was hemolyzed, we're going to say no. And then we have the purified lymphocytes, the buffy coat, the whole blood, the DNA, and then we're not going to use the extra sample labels. So in the instance of, say, where one got cracked, you wanted to replace it, you could use one of these extra ones and mark it as collected and use it. Okay, so that's what those are for, is if you need to replace one of the original. Okay, so that's how you mark them all in here as used. And you can click continue. And let's go back here. I just want to offer a suggestion. So if you have this form filled out on paper, you could take one of the extra labels not being used and put it on that paper. And then this is a good way. So if you're trying to find out, like you're trying to pull the samples, they decide they need to send up, they want you to send them to a different repository or someone else, and you're having an issue, you can't find it. If you have the actual label on this form, then you have a way to go back and say, nope, this is correct, it's entered correctly in LINQ, this is the right one. Okay, it's just an extra little safeguard when it comes to having to track down biosample labels and making sure that the numbers are correct. Okay, so now we'll go to the end page. Now here we don't have the question of is it completed. Instead it says collection and form are complete. Okay, so you just want to make sure that you click. Once you click this, you're not able to go back and change anything on that biosample page. If you need to make changes after you click this form, you would have to contact the DCC. Okay, and right here it says barcode should not be edited. We'll hit continue, and again it takes us right back to the task page. We can go add new ad hoc again, and this time we're going to go ahead and add the saliva because it's just a little bit different on how you enter it. Okay. And here's the saliva. So the saliva, as opposed to having kits, you just have a running roll of labels. So you want to go ahead and say yes, sure. If you do this when you got it, I'll put today again. You get distracted again. Okay. So now what we want to do is enter the first barcode and the last barcode that you're using. So most of the kits, you can use two labels is generally what'll get used. But I'm going to actually put in like 3 or 4 just to show you how it automatically populates everything. So again, we want the 900 or the site number. Okay, and the sample type for here is SA for saliva, and then we just have a 6-digit number. Okay, and then check to make sure that's a good number. And then that's the first number we're using. And now we're going to do 1, 2, 4. Okay, and that's our last digit or our last label number. So when we say populate grid, it's going to populate it with those numbers. within that range. So our first number, our last number, and the number in between them. And so it's very important when you're doing the biosample labels for the saliva kits that you take off just the ones you need to use. So 2 generally is the most you're going to use, sometimes maybe just 1. If you use just 1, you want to put that number in the first and last questions up here. Okay. So then we want to just go ahead and we'll mark these all as used and collected. Okay. Hit continue. Again, collection forms are complete, so we'll put yes and hit continue. Okay. So now, if we go over to the material management page, you now see this is all the samples we've collected so far. Okay. And it tells you like which ones are saliva, which ones are blood. Again, you could do a sort by whichever, if you only want to see the saliva, you can click that. Okay. Subject ID, which we only have 1 in, you can sort by that though. If you want to look for a certain barcode, like, wait, what's this barcode to? Say you found a label sitting around, look and see if it's on here, or you have a sample, and it's like, wait, who does this belong to? You can click on that specific sample, and it'll tell you. Shipping status, but you guys aren't shipping, so it's everything should be collected. Okay, and then the last time it was updated. This is just a nice way to see like all of your site's biosamples that have been collected. So let's go back to the census, and I want to view the add new ad hoc cohort reevaluation. Okay. So let's go into that. Screening date today. They're not enrolled in cohort 5, and that automatically pulls that over. Answering the questions. And you just, again, it's very important that you go in order just to make sure that everything, you don't miss anything and everything is calculated correctly. And then everything that you entered in the screening form automatically pulls through, so unless anything that changed. We're going to go ahead and hit menu. Mark it as question complete. And so nothing changed, so they're still in cohort 1, which you'll see here. It's just because I kept all the answers the same. But if you change any, it'll change them to the different cohort. Okay. So that's how you use the ad hocs and how you add them. And again, like I said, if you have any questions, you can contact the DCC. And we're at proceed-dcc@arborresearch.org. You can also reference the MOO, the Manual of Operations, for more specific information as well. Okay. Well, thank you for attending this training, and we look forward to working with you in the future. And have a great day. Thanks.